Hi there, it's Nicole for Lawn Fawn, and today I have a card showcasing some more CHA release products. This is the Rooting for You stamps and dies and the simple stitched hillside borders. To start, I'm going to stamp the images from the Rooting for You stamp set on some smooth white cardstock using lots and lots of the Lawn Fawn die inks. I am using the fake tan and pumpkin spice for the body of the carrots, celery stick and freshly cut grass for any of the greenery, so any of the tops of the vegetables are going to have these two colors, lobster red for the radishes. Again, I'm going to use celery stick as the base and freshly cut grass for the layering piece. I love that these images have lots of layering. So all of the vegetables, with the exception of maybe the radish, have layering images so that you can get lots of texture or layered stamping. There's also some adorable faces, which Lawn Fawn is known for, and you can use them with or without. For this card, I thought it would be kind of whimsical and fun, so I'm adding faces with the Lawn Fawn black licorice ink. For the beets, I am using fresh lavender and sugar plum inks layered, and the celery stick and freshly cut grass again. Grab the correct layering piece here. That's the sugar plum ink layered over the fresh lavender. Again, add some faces. Now, I didn't have a light enough color here at home, so I used the Hero Arts Soft Lavender for the turnip and then some Juice Box for the top of the turnips. However, Lawn Fawn is releasing a lighter color, so that will be available later this month. Again, for the greenery at the top, unfortunately, I'm sorry, I was a little bit out of screen here, but I used the celery stick and freshly cut grass for the top portions of the turnips. Added some faces. Then for the little gardening picks here, I am using the Hippo ink from Lawn Fawn. And for the coordinating vegetable name, I'm using the black licorice ink. I love that there's all these coordinating little pieces so you can build your garden. Such a cute, fun stamp set. And like I said, with the layering components of this stamp set, you can really create some lovely stamped images. I'll go ahead and use the coordinating dies to die cut all of these images. For several of them, I will need to run it through my machine a couple of times to get everything die cut. I'll do the same thing with the little gardening picks here. Once I have all of those die cut, I am going to grab some watercolor cardstock and die cut the background for my page to build my gardening scene. So using the A2 size stitched rectangle die, I will die cut one rectangle from watercolor cardstock. Then I will die cut another one from watercolor cardstock. From that second rectangle, I will take the new stitched hillside borders, or simple stitched hillside borders rather. What I love about these is they are a more simple version of Lawn Fawn's original stitched hillside borders, which is probably one of my most used die sets. I absolutely love them for creating all kinds of scenes. So here's that second one. Get that die cut. And then I will take the lowest stitched hillside border. There's 3 levels. There's one that's a pretty dramatic hill. I'm not going to use that one for this card. Instead, I'm going to use this lowest one and then the middle version. And what I'm doing is kind of counting up those little stitched notches on the side of the rectangle so that I can get this as even as possible. I'll use a little post-it tape to hold that down and then run it through. I opted to go ahead and die cut my hills individually this time. A lot of times I'll just place both dies on there and die cut them. The reason why is I'll show you here. I'm going to go ahead and take that remaining rectangle, line up the first border that I die cut, and that's going to give me a good guideline for where I want to cut my second one. So there are my two hills, or the landscape, and I am going to take some distress inks and color in these two pieces so that they kind of look like ground. And I'm using the Gathered Twigs distress ink first. I'm going to use a piece of paper to keep my fingers out of it and also keep my fingerprints out of what I'm inking. And then I'll also use the ground espresso ink to give it a little bit of variation. So right along the top of each of these panels, I'm going to be adding that ground espresso. And then I want to make sure and blend those two colors together seamlessly. So I'll go back to my Gathered Twigs and blend that out. Make sure and try to remove any of those ink blending tool lines that might still be there. I'm going to do the same thing for the other border now. Exact same two colors. This is one of my favorite current techniques, and that's because I'm going to be using the distress sprayer over both of these. So I'm going to spritz all of my background pieces to give them a great distress look. I think it works especially well with this design to give the sky a more natural look and the ground a more natural look. Before I do any spraying with the sprayer, I will add some Tumbled Glass and Salty Ocean Distress inks to my background rectangle panel. That way I can spray everything at once. Now I'm going to apply the Tumbled Glass first, and I'm not going to go quite to the top of this panel. I also don't have to apply it all the way to the bottom. That is going to be covered up with those ground pieces, so I'm not going to waste the ink or effort there. But I want it to go darker from right where the sky meets the ground and gradually lighten up. In fact, not even go quite all the way to the top of the panel with my Tumbled Glass Distress ink. I'm doing a fair amount of blending here. I don't want that salty ocean to be too prevalent. I'm going to go ahead and take my ground pieces and make sure I like how that all looks. Move everything out of the way. I'm going to spread out these three pieces now. Take my distress sprayer and just slightly pull the trigger. You don't even want to pull it all the way. And that'll give you some of those bigger drops. You can definitely see them easier on the brown than on the blue. I'm going to let those sit for 30 to 45 seconds. Then take a dry paper towel and gradually pick those up. And you can see what a great look that is. It really adds some nice texture. I'm going to set those aside to completely dry before I put the card together. I'm going to go ahead and place the first border along the bottom of my background panel and then the top one. And then taking a combination of medium Zotz glue dots and mini bling glue dots, I'm going to build my garden scene. I like the glue dots because I think they work well for these smaller sized stamped and die cut images. That's about all I use anymore to adhere these pieces. Unless something is really teeny tiny, I will use my liquid adhesive, but I just love the bling glue dots. They're the teeny tiny ones. I use them for my sequins as well. And then the medium ones are great for any of these bigger pieces. Before I add or adhere any of these too much, I want to go ahead and kind of lay everything out and make sure everything's going to fit. Then I can go ahead and go back and add my adhesive dots to each and every piece. So super fun way to add or create a garden type themed card. You definitely would not have to add the faces if you don't like that look, or maybe you're going for maybe a little bit more traditional look instead of whimsical. Lots of different ways to stamp and layer the vegetables here. Trying to find the best way to attach my turnip and my radishes. I did end up moving those a little bit, which was a little tricky. Good thing I didn't push too hard with my adhesive dots yet. Like that a little bit better. Then I will take my black licorice dye ink add a greeting. I decided to stamp "I'm rooting for you." You could also stamp "We're rooting for you." I love that there's options there. I'm going to put some nice strong adhesive on my card base, attach my panel, and that is going to finish up this card showcasing new Lawn Fawn stamps and dies from the CHA 2016 release. Here are a couple more videos you might be interested in featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.